Okay, Subodh. Okay, Subodh, you take card number 39.
Okay, sir.
Okay, who is ready now? First,
Sir, Nikita.
okay, Kumar. Okay, Nikita, you can start, and timekeeper will be Mukesh Saab.
Sam.
You please keep the time.
All right. Nikita, you may start.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. The topic which I have selected for my lecturate is tourism. Tourism comprises of a person traveling to another place outside of his own environment for his leisure or for business purpose. It is important because it generates income and employment. If we see in case of employment, then total almost of around 8% of the employment is comprises from the tourism sector in India. And if we see the on the global level, then India contributes to almost 8% to the world GDP in case of the tourism sector. India stands on the 7th position on the global platform. Then it is also important because it gives a boost to the service sector, such as airlines, hotels, surface transportation, etc. Then foreign travelers helps India in getting foreign exchange. Tourism helps in preservation of national heritage and environment also. Then infrastructural development. Nowadays, it is ensured that travelers do not face any problem. Multiple use infrastructure are getting developed at several tourist places. In Uttarakhand plan to start mobile caravans is a latest example over there. Then also it helps in bringing India on global map of tourism, earning appreciation, recognition, and initiates cultural exchange. But there are few challenges to growth of tourism in India. First and foremost is safety and security of tourists, especially of the foreign tourist, is a major hurdle to the tourism development. Attacks on foreign nationals raise a question about the India's capability to welcome the tourist from far away the countries. Then tourists in India still face many infrastructure related problems like inadequate road, water, hotel, and telecommunication. Then seasonality in tourism, that is means if we see yearly, then almost only 6 months are of tourism and rest 6 months there is no tourism.
0 second name.
So what could be the way forward? So we can say that there should be a faster development in the infrastructure. Then for the safety of tourists, there should be an official guide system. Then promotion of other form of tourism like medical, adventure. And for the to solve the seasonality of the tourism, then we can give off-season discount. Lastly, I just want to say that tourism as a soft power helps in promoting cultural diplomacy, people-to-people connect, and thereby promotes friendship and cooperation between India and other countries. Thank you.
Okay, Nikita, you got unnecessarily conscious about recording in the initial stage, but later the flow was good. Conclusion was very good. Introduction was weak, but then you got the momentum going. Okay, tourism is important topic. Soft power you mentioned in the conclusion, correct. It is really a very good opportunity to showcase your strength. You raise your economy, you give employment to the people, you maintain your cultural heritage, you have to maintain your historical places, and you become little prominent at the world stage. You see all the favorite tourism sites, these countries, and some of the hotspots for the tourism. They are known to everyone. This is an opportunity for any country to showcase their own historical places, important things, and in the bargain, you earn revenue. Okay, good. You covered it well. A lot of points were relevant and from different angle you covered it. Very nice. Okay, Subodh ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Nikita, keep time.
You can start.
Okay. So, good morning, gentlemen. My lecture topic is volcano. So, volcano, we all know that volcano basically it is a mountain from which the lava erupts, and that is termed as volcano. We can see volcano is basically a geographical term, and volcano found in each and every continent, whether it is Asia, whether it is Asia, Europe, North America, South America. So basically, how volcano formed? Volcano basically there are several types of volcanoes. Island volcano is also there. Then continental volcano is also there. Hawaii is termed as the island volcano. Most of the volcanoes are present in the Pacific Ocean. We could also termed it as the Pacific Ring. The Pacific Ring. It is a term that we termed it as because of most of the volcanic eruptions happened underwater, because most of the volcanoes are present underwater, and because of that it can create tsunami. So how volcano formed? What are the basics that volcano formed? First of all, if we want to know about volcanoes, so we have to get to know about the tectonic plate tectonic theory. If two continental plates converge with each other, then volcano mountain form. Same thing that happened in Barren Island as well as in Japan. In Japan is a island country, and we know that Japan formed due to the convergence of one continental plate and one oceanic plate, and because of that Japan has the most number of volcanoes, followed by Indonesia. So volcano basically it causes, what are the effects of volcanoes in our environment? So volcano causes acid rain, as well as if a volcano erupts in any part of the country, then the average temperature of our earth will definitely go down, just because of its gases that releases during the volcanic eruption, just like ash, then HCl, CO2, SO2, and all these gases. If one erupts from these gases, so it will definitely then the average temperature will definitely go down, and it can affect the agriculture activities and almost all the environmental activities that we are doing. So apart from that, giving recent example in Hawaii, that is the volcano is erupted recently, as well as in Mount Oso of Japan, the volcanic eruption happened. If we talk about India has the only active volcano in Barren Island. So lastly, I want to conclude that, and according to my opinion, we could not have much effect. We could not stop the activities of volcano, but due to our human activities, also volcano causes. So we can mitigate those activities, just like mining activities. We can do at a limit. We can do at a par stage, that we can avoid the volcano. And as far as the volcanic eruption happened in India, there is not much active volcano, but in Indonesia, then in Japan, there are active volcanoes present. So I think that it is in our hand to mitigate the volcanic crisis till some extent, and we should do it. Thank you.
Okay, Subodh, good. But there is very important current point you missed. Anyone?
Iceland
Something happened
volcano.
on. Pardon?
Iceland volcano.
Saturday, there is something important which has happened and really noteworthy. World is facing that threat. In the Pacific Islands, there is a Tonga place. On Saturday, there was an eruption of volcano, and entire Pacific area plus US, all these things were put on alert for tsunami. So point to note is, if there is any topic you have chosen, just fraction of second, you should be able to just tell yourself, is there anything which has happened in recent, and if possible in the same week. Today, if you are going to speak on this topic in SSB, it would have been more prominent if you cover anything which has happened just a day before. Probably nobody was knowing it, but there is a big news going on. Okay, but otherwise these are very factual topics where you speak more to the point and scientific, with some examples what Subodh has given already, and the threats, how to mitigate them, the challenges faced by the countries, and how a country like Japan or the modern countries, developed countries are tackling it. And we should be prepared for it, because the fallout of volcano, generally, if it is undersea, which has happened in Tonga in the Pacific Islands, the tsunami, the threat of tsunami is a bigger danger. Volcano happens in specific places, but undersea volcano has got ramifications for the coastlines and all the countries which are near to the seashore sites. Okay. Subodh, you got point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it was a current affair. That is what is very important, to link up with your topic anything which is relevant and very, very recent. And if possible, even that day's news is also very relevant. Okay,
Yes.
Mukesh Saab, ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Subodh, keep time.
You can start, sir.
Okay. Good morning, sir, and my friends. Today's my topic is election system in India. First is, what is the election? The process of choosing a person or a group of a people for a position, especially a political position. It's called election. It is important to know us because election are a essential part of any democracy. But friends, there is a lot of challenges in our election system and our choosing process of any person. First is money power. You know, during the election, the lot of parties use money for the influence the voters. Next one, muscle power. We can see in UP, there is a lot of Bahubali Netas are available. They can use their muscle power to influence the people. Next one is criminalization of politician. It is big issue in our political system. Next, misuse of government machinery during the campaign, means the administrative and the police and the other means government body is used by the political party, which party have in a power. Next one, casteism is a big issue. You can see in UP, the state divide in the casteism. Some in Yadav, some in the Brahman. It's again issue. Next one is the lack of moral value in politics. It is we can see during the election and after the election. And security issue. You know, during the election, the lot of troops mobilized here to there. It is again burden to our economy and also as well as country progress. Next is non-serious independence candidate. You can see there is no any criteria for a candidate. Lot of candidates, those have criminal activity involved and they have a lot of cases on him. But after that, they can apply easily for election. But there is a lot of solution we can do on our behalf. Firstly, there is no restriction to spend on money in party. So there is a surveillance system should be there. Means after the election, the audit should be make the every party, and after that they can elaborate the in front of people and front of the citizen. Voting through the postal ballot, it is the very important fact, because you know the many times the people not happy with the ongoing election system. And next is awareness in voters. Yes, we should increase the awareness between the voters, so we can able to choose a good person. And next one, one nation, one election policy can be good option for our election system. So friends, I would conclude my lecture. We all come together and choose those person have good image in society and in nation, so they can do good for making nation and as well as for citizen. Thank you.
Okay, good, Mukesh Saab. Couple of points. Flow, it can further get refined, smooth. It will happen automatically with practice. There is very important observation in your case. When you are connecting 2 points, you typically use the word next. So you just visualize how to use different words or connecting two sentences, 2 points with variation, because otherwise it looks little monotonous, because next point, what you say when connecting to next point, you say next is or next point is. This has been repeated maybe 7-8 times. So that is a bigger observation. Another thing is these topics, yes, these are sensitive topics also. Election system in India is a basic foundation for us as a democratic setup. We are a democratic nation, and our everything, or even the biggest pillar, if you can call, is the election system. If it is conducted fairly, because it is people's participation, and if it is manipulated, things are finished then. We, as a democratic countries, of no use then if we are not able to conduct it fairly. But the another angles is huge population, how to cover it. We as one nation, one election. What in the end you were mentioning, this is a very hot topic, and government is seriously thinking about it. Then there are some controversies related to EVMs. Then uh, people who indulge in wrong practices. There is one important landmark thing in our history. Election chief or election commissioner, there was one famous personality, Mr. T.N. Session. If you can mention, because with his arrival on the national stage, election system or election commission, these things were known to common people, because he was quite effective in implementing the election system process, and some of the policies were noteworthy in his time. So that is also worth mentioning. Okay, good. Who is next? Ready? CP Saab?
Sir, I'm ready.
Okay. Sanjeevani. Okay,
Yes,
Tejas,
sir.
I will put message.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, we'll take Sanjeevani and then CP Saab. Okay, Saab, keep time.
Yes, sir. Sanjeevani, you may start.
Okay. Good morning to all. Today my lecture topic is India-China relation. India-China relation can be traced back to Asian time. The Silk Road led to significant economical bilateral trades between the two countries. The background is that China and India both are major force in the Asian subordinate. In 1980, Indian GDP per capita was slightly higher than China. India has moved in additional troops at LAC to match China's diplomats. India also approved the purchase of 33 Russian fighter sets and invest at 18,148 crores on grad of war plans. Indian government also banned 59 apps of Chinese origin, but India is still dependent on a Chinese product in several critical and struggle and sensitive sector from the sector like semiconductor, pharmaceutical and telecom. While the Republic of China pronounced the app ban action from the India as a interfaith in the practical cooperation of India and China. Then India decided to its border infrastructure through the probe be only to the also during the last year, India tides on July on and GRED and China-Pakistan economical coordinate. India is also divided into three sectors along the yellow seam. Eastern sector which span Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim and in
Give me a second.
134 kilometer. The middle sector is Uttarakhand. Himachal Pradesh is 540 5 for 545 kilometer in western sector in Ladakh that expanded to 1559 kilometer. So lastly, I want to conclude that those tension have predicated down our attention toward our economical diplomatic on China. It past COVID condition, many countries and companies have straight divesting from China, creative in advantage situation for India in the term of trade benefits. But the border tension are constantly high, and the escalation might lead to the big war. Thank you.
Okay, Sanjeevani, timekeeping like 3 minutes, you have to restrict, and that is one of the important aspect, especially in SSD's lecture. Second is flow. Further smooth, you have to feel, practice, and it will come up. Another point specific to you is some of the pronunciations which are not coming up correctly. So that will also come up with practice. Then coming to points, India, China related, any topic is very relevant in any exam. And there are many issues you must be aware in total, like economy front, industrial comparisons, then some of the defense level comparisons, international level relations, like how China is very close to now Pakistan. And for us, both of them are important. If they come together, it is a serious thing for us. And nowadays, they are together because every point they speak single line, single tone. So that is a big issue, and because of that, we are very, very alert, especially on the border front. Both the countries are trying to create disturbances. Okay, and it affects internal scenario also, industrial things also. There is always a talk that Atmanirbhar Bharat, but is it possible today? No, we are too dependent on China. A lot of things are coming from China. Okay, Sanjeevani, you can review your thing once it is put. Just listen carefully. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Subodh ready? CP Saab will have afterwards. Sorry, Subodhni. Tejas.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sanjeevani, keep time.
Yes, sir. Tejas, you can start.
Good morning, everyone. Today, my topic for lecture is religious extremism. So, religious extremism has a particular importance in a democratic setup like India. Because if we see our preamble and our constitution does not provide a particular religion to be fixed with our nation's name. We are secular, democratic, and secular, democratic, socialist, and republic country, and we never promoted a particular religion, and we have adopted a secular kind of a thing. But if we see the religious extremism still persists in our society, it is the result because of which the interfaith, intercaste, and the interreligious marriage are still considered a taboo in our society. Though we show kind of a unity at national level or when we cross our borders, but still there is something that we are not yet united. And these things are particularly the religious extremism is keeping us fragmented in particular various different religions. So I feel it is a very big issue, though not recognized, but still keep our minds differentiated. Religious extremism has not only affected our country, but also it is affecting the globe, all around the globe. If you see the case of Israel, so there also, we consider Israel as a very developed nation, still progressive. We have seen that religious extremism is still happening there. Also, we have seen because of these religious extremism, we get a boost to the kind of a terrorist activities. And these terrorist activities try to overpower themselves for the sake of their community, though there are not so confirmed and strong agendas stick to that. It is just that they want to prove a superiority of their particular community. The challenges this religious extremism puts forward for a country or for even a world, you could see that it hinders the economic development and particularly the development of the community of that particular religion. So you see particularly the community which are spreading this religious extremism are not having a very developed manpower. The Indians are not educated and they are not economically so well developed. Currently, some examples related to it, I could see that India's vaccination drive, some communities are still and religions
30
are
seconds.
still in the opposition that the vaccines will not be good to them, and because of these extremist thoughts, they are opposing the vaccination drive. And though we are trying to focus more and more on this vaccination thing, we are yet to succeed in particular vaccination drive. So I feel in the end, extremism of any kind, not only religion, is very harmful to a progress of our nation or individual itself. So it has to be certain limit, and
Time.
particularly in modern world, there should not be place for such extremism, and we should be focusing more and more involvement of each and every individual and their progress. Thank you.
Okay, Tejas, it could have been little louder. I think your voice was little low, but okay, no issue. Every speaker, you can be little louder when your turn comes, because then it gives a better audio for all the people, because network is an issue for many of us. This topic, though sound very, very familiar, very easy, but it is not easy, because these are sensitive topics, how to speak on this. India being a democratic country and world's one of the most respected as far as peace measures goes. People may not be speaking, some of the countries don't speak on this, but heart of heart, everybody knows how India is peace-loving country. Our history is testimony to it. We never ever attacked any country in the history, except when it was very, very unavoidable for us when it was East and West Pakistan. In case of Bangladesh liberation, we had done something which was inevitable. It was for our maintenance of sovereignty and to sort out issues. But then India has got larger role to play at world stage. We have to understand it. We have to maintain it. Religious extremism is actually a threat to entire world. There are many countries who are now not stable because of this issue. And world should come together. There is no way ahead if world doesn't come together on this issue. Otherwise, we'll be finished. Time is not far away when the nuclear or biological or chemical warfare things, agents, the arsenals go into the hand of religious fundamentalist organizations. And some of the players will not give second thought to utilize it. That is a bigger threat. Okay, Tejas, good. You tried to cover from good point of view. Now, who is ready?
Sir, Niranjan. Suraj.
Niranjan. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I will take CP Saab, then Niranjan, then Suraj. Renuka, I will assign you card. Wait for a time so that you get 3 to 4 minutes to prepare.
Yes, sir.
Time. CP Saab, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, you can start, sir.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, sir, and my dear friends. Everyone wants to live healthy. That's why they used to do a lot of precautions. Nowadays, demand and use of gloves and masks is increasing due to this COVID-19 pandemic. Many times we see a lot of masks and gloves are available in garbage points as well as on the roads. Yes, friends, today I would like to tell you about biomedical waste. For easy understanding of topic, I'll cover it in 3 parts. What is biomedical waste? What is the present situation? and how to deal it. Friends, biomedical waste or hospital waste is a kind of waste containing infectious or potentially infectious material like packaging, unused garbage, intrusion kits, soaps, blood testing kits like syringes and all. What is the present situation? Friends, at present, there are poor segregation of biomedical waste and other general solid waste. As a result, biomedical waste such as masks, gloves, PPE kits, etc., is being mixed into the normal waste and is ending up in landfills or open dump yards. This is affecting the health of garbage handling workers and affecting the environment also. Another thing is that it also releases a lot of drug-resistant microorganisms. Maybe it will be the case when it will happen. And another point, the management of waste is also one of the issue, because we have seen that our country is having very limited capacity to handle these type of waste, as we are having the capacity of 840 ton per day to handle this type of waste. Even we have seen that in 2019 we have produced 616 ton of biomedical waste daily, and nowadays it is around 800 tons per day going on. And now coming on to the solution part, that how to handle these things. Friends, there should be some rules on the segregation of biomedical waste from normal solid waste. If we will have some type of hefty fines on them, then definitely they can segregate these things. And thereafter, widespread of awareness programs, we have to tell the people that how to use it and how to dump it. Whenever there is a gloves or mask, we have to cut it down and in the pieces so that nobody can reuse it. And another thing is that we have to put it separately for 72 hours before mixing it or before giving it to the municipal workers in a separate bag. And at present, biomedical waste treatment facility in India is, as I told, that 840 tons per day. Then capacity should be increased so that we can handle more waste. And another thing is that more investment and human resources should require to management of these waste, and converting biomedical waste into electricity is also one of the option. We have to provide more protective equipments to the health and sanitation workers. So at the end, I want to conclude that more investment and human resources are needed to handle the increasing biomedical waste. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, good. CP Saab, energy level is very high. Momentum goes on very good. Very important topic, biomedical waste. World is facing problem. We are realizing we are producing too much in every aspect, whether it is plastic, now biomedical or e-waste. These are the challenges in future. And that is how a new terminology has been coined, wealth from waste. Waste management is itself is a vast subject. World is thinking over it. To the extent Israel is saying, give us waste, because they are ready to produce something, recycle it. But we need to learn how to utilize at first place anything and manage it properly while disposing it off, because otherwise it is a environmental hazard. Apart from some hygiene and sanitation issues, if we don't manage things around us in a proper way, especially you see too much of hospital related waste is seen around, and there has to be some rules and regulations for these management. Okay, Niranjan, ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Dubey Saab, keep time.
Yes, sir. Niranjan, you may start.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Today's my lecture topic is pollution. Pollution has become one of the most concerning issues for our planet and mankind. It takes place when pollutants contaminate in the environment. In other words, pollution is responsible for disturbing the balance of the ecosystem. Moreover, it impacts our lifestyle severely and also contributes greatly to global warming. As the world is getting more polluted, is also enhancing day by day. It's like we are prisoners of our own creations. Further, it has become rather essential to learn about our causes, types, and impact of pollution to deal with its problem. Impacts of pollution are very severe. Moreover, pollution comes in different forms. To begin with, we have air pollution, which means contamination of air. It is very dangerous kind of pollution. and which chemically and physically alerts the air. When toxic gases enter the atmosphere, life becomes difficult for human beings. The burning of fossil fuels, mining, automobile exhaust, and more contribute to it. This causes to acid rains, respiratory problems, global warming, and more. Next up, water pollution is one of the risk increasing like anything. The industrial waste, sewage, wastewaters, oil spills, and more contributed to it. Further, the impact is very deadly as we cannot survive without water. The water needed for drinking, cooking, agriculture, and more is declining day by day. Further, soil pollution, where contaminations like toxic chemicals hamper the quality of our soil. Soil pollution has a very negative impact as we cultivate our food from it, especially on wildlife and vegetation too. It affects severely. In addition to human life and groundwater are also severely damaged due to soil pollution. Improper waste disposal, industrial activities like acid rains and more contribute to soil pollution. Thus, it cannot contaminate the health of human beings. Moreover, it impacts the growth of plants as it decreases the fertility of the soil. Moreover, it alters the structure of the soil due to pollution. How to prevent pollution? As pollution impacts our lives negatively, we need to find out ways to prevent it and implement them immediately. It does not only degrade the life of humans but also animals and vegetation. We must all begin by adopting conservation and approaches and sustainable strategies. It is important more than ever to restore the ecological balance. We need to bring a change in our transportation choices, being the opting for public transportation instead of private one. Try to carpool or walk and ride bikes to place further. We must also keep sustainable food choices. Local and organic produce is way to go. Moreover, to sum it up, we see the change begins with us. You don't have to bank on the government or the industries to prevent the pollution as well as contribute to it. We need to control pollution so as to create a healthy future for our upcoming generations. Every person of this on this earth has a great role to play in restoring the balance of the earth. Thank you.
Okay, Niranjan, good confidence. Just a beginning for you on this forum. Very important topic, continuation with what CP sir was mentioning about biomedical waste. Pollution, different types of pollution. Like air pollution, we keep referring pollution as a general category, but noise pollution, or you see now different types of ingredient to these pollutions, especially now e-waste, which is adding very much, because if you see the mobile industry or chip industry or hardware of computers, everything, it is adding so much of waste. We were worried initially about plastic and some of the industrial waste. Today it is biomedical waste, e-waste, and computer-related, mobile-related accessories, so many things, and it will be a difficult challenge for future. Now, Jayant had put message about PPE kit disposal. We have to think, because these things are getting produced in huge quantity. But once it is produced, how to dispose it off? There has to be some systematic ways. Okay, good. We will have Omkar and then Renuka. Omkar, ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Niranjan, keep time.
Yes, you may start.
Good morning, everyone. Today's my lecture topic is American Civil War. A civil war is a war which is fought between different groups of people who live in the same country. American Civil War was also called the war between the states. Was a war fought in the United States from 1861 to 1865 between the United States and the 11 southern states that succeeded from the Union and formed the Confederate States of America. The secession of southern states like South Carolina, Mississippi, Florida, Georgia, and the Texas are in 1860 and 1861, and the outbreak of armed hostages were the culmination of decades of growing essential fraction over the slavery. Between 1815 and 1861, the economy of the northern state was rapidly modernizing and disverifying. The Republican Party dominated in the north and led by the Abraham Lincoln supported banning slavery in all the United States territory in the 1860 presidential election. Southern state view this as a violation of their constitutional rights. The Republican Party secured a majority of the central votes nationality, and Lincoln was constitutionally elected for the president. It was the first Republican Party candidate who win the presidency. So the reviewing the slavery is an important thing on that time. After that the war is broke out in April 1861, primarily as a result of long-standing controversy over the enslavement of the black people when secessionist force attacked from the summit in southern California shortly after Abraham Lincoln had been inaugurated as the president. The war resolved two fundamental questions left unresolved by the American Revolution, where the United States was to be the dissoluble confederation of southern state or the individual nation with the slavery nation government. Lastly, I want to conclude that the inside war creates more unbalanced situation in the country, also have many disverse effect on each part of the country. So solution of the problem before creating this type of civil war is an important thing to avoid the civil war. Thank you.
Time is up.
Okay, good Omkar. American Civil War, very, very relevant to read how today's most powerful nation has evolved from this slavery issue. And 1861 to 1865, that was crucial phase for their rise. Because once you sort out these domestic issues, social issues, then only you can imagine to become a powerful nation. So is the case with many countries, like our country also. We have to sort out few social issues, then only we can think of becoming powerful. Okay, good, Omkar. Flow is coming, and pronunciations, one or two were not up to the mark. Otherwise, it is okay. Good. Renuka, ready?
Yes, sir.
Omkar, keep time.
Yes, sir. Renuka, you can start now.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. For today's my lecture topic is. Am I audible?
Audible.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. For today, my lecture topic is hydroponics. Hydroponics, as we know that we mostly when it comes to agriculture or plantation, the most important thing that we remind of is soil, and hydroponic is what it refers to the cultivation of plants or crops without using soil. Hydroponics is in hydroponics we can assume that the flowers or the vegetables, whatever we grow, we do not grow it in soil, but we directly supply a nutrient-rich solution or oxygen through water. So this is a kind of system which like improves the rapid growth of cultivation, stronger the yield, and also superior the quality of the crop we are growing. So basic definition of hydroponics is it is a method of growing plants in water-based or nutrient-rich solution. As we know that India is having varied soil types all over its continent. So as we have black soil, laterite soil, these type of soils, but the basic thing that we know that the plant does for its for producing yield is they use a process called photosynthesis to sustain themselves. But as we know that they do not need photosynthesis, they do not need soil for photosynthesis. So they need the soil to supply them water and nutrients only. So when nutrients are dissolved into water, they can be applied directly to the plant root, and so they don't have to exert extra something to just extract the water and extract the nutrients from the soil. So this can be helped, and this can be so hydroponics can be proven as direct exposure to the nutrient filled water, and this can be more effective and versatile method, like rather than the traditional irrigation or traditional methods that we are using right now for the cultivation. So as we all know that ensuring food security for the increasing population is one of the major concern of today's world, or today's main goal also. So this practice practice of hydroponics can be used in urban areas or pre-urban areas also, where their soil quality is not that much good. So these type of techniques, if we used, can help to secure a food security. Then it has a higher yield also, and also superior quality of crop. It also is land and water efficient, and
Last 30 seconds.
it is also viable to that farmers that have a limited amount of land and water. So this is good for them also. Though this technique also has a bit of drawbacks, as India is a not water abundant country for the water resources, and here the water is an important factor. So this, so if we used in a better, efficient way, it can be used in a good way. So I think hydroponics is one of the techniques that should be used by not only the basic traditional farmers, but also in the pre-urban areas to improve the better food security. And yes, thank you.
Okay, important topic, modern topic. Agricultural revolution is going to happen. Hydroponics was especially famous when the IITians in Rajasthan, they tried rooftop farming, and they got successful in that, in 500 square feet rooftop. And this will be a phenomena in future, because in urban areas, if people can do with the help of hydroponics, the vegetable growing on the rooftop, and easy way. And food security, yes, what Renuka was highlighting, that will be an important issue. And you must cope up with these topics, because these are the future of India, because our agriculture base is the foundation. Whatever new technology is coming or new methodology is coming in this sector are important for all of us, as a student also and as a citizen also. Okay, good, Renuka. Gurjan Saab?
Yes, sir.
You are ready?
Good morning, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir, ready.
Renuka, please time.
Yes, sir. You may start, sir.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, friends. The technology is emerging fast, especially as the information technology. So it causes many facilities for human life and also leads to some illegal activity. So friends, next 2 to 3 minutes, I would like to express my views on cyber crimes in the cyber activities. So first of all, a cyber crime is a crime involving the computers and network medias which we are using in our information technology lifestyle. So in the present scenario, in every 10 minutes, one cyber crime is occurring in our nations. So that is very alarming figures, which alarms us to secure our information technology data on internet or on online basis. So many of challenges and the causes behind this. First of all, lack of information technologies, hardware and infrastructures which needs to be upgraded. And other thing is lack of awareness about the information technologies, lack of study institutes, and lack of experts of information technologies. So for this, many of actions taken by the governments, like the present government is taken the Digital India initiatives, which becomes the many of people's aware about the information technologies and as the digital awareness. Government of India also took a act on information technology in 2000 and also after that a review in February 2017 at the Information Technologies Act. And now the Indian government, the Indian organizations are working on the data security bills. It will provide the protection on the online basis of the cyber crimes. It will curb the cyber crimes. So some of actions at the level of as an individual, as a citizen, by adopting this, we can stop this type of crimes or can reduce this type of activities. First of all, by the public or private partnerships, our society needs to be expand our education based technical education, which will provide the digital education to our citizens and national institutes, and also enhance the production of IT infrastructure. It will like firewall, servers, or any other hardware which will provide the security from data breaching. And also, there is a need to provide suitable placement of IT experts, which are especially facing the brain drain problem and going to the abroad after completing their degree in our nations. And next thing, last, I will conclude my topic with this like the nation and the citizen as the government and the local authority required to set up digital infrastructure and monitoring agencies and also awareness about the cyber crimes. Like we should protect our files by passwords. We should protect our system with the firewall or antivirus or with the software. So by these we can control or reduce this type of crimes. Thank you.
Okay, good, Gurjan Saab. Very common topic and very important, because next 9/11 will be on a cyber platform. That is a tremendous threat world is facing. We need to gear up our law and order agencies. Really, we are not coming up to the level of alertness and preparedness in the field of cyber threat. Especially China is way ahead in this field. It's a new challenge and very, very dangerous for any country. If it gets compromised, its system gets paralyzed. There was a power grid which was probably paralyzed because some Chinese originated cyber threat was there. And then we can understand how serious it can be in the future. Lot to be done from the defensive front on this, and a lot of expertise is required. Okay, good, Gurjan Saab. Now we are left with Kumar, Suraj, and Paras. Okay, we'll start with Suraj.
Okay, sir.
Okay, Gurjan Saab, keep time.
Yes, sir. Suraj, you may start.
Good morning, friends. Today I'm going to talk about world's largest and oldest democracy, that India and US. Talking about the relationship between India and US during the Cold War era. The world was categorized into two major groups, that is NATO and USSR. But we were non-aligned, but we were closer to USSR. It was during the Kennedy administration. US openly supported India during Indo-China War 1962. In 1963, relations deteriorated during the Nixon administration. US provided support to Pakistan in 1965 Indo-Pak War by supplying different hardware. Again in 1990, when we conducted Pokhran nuclear test, US imposed economic sanctions on us. After 9/11 attack, US realized that we should get help from other countries, and India is one of them. So in 2008, the historic India-US civil nuclear deal was signed, and which was known as 123 agreement. Talking about the relationship between India and US, so it is stand on three major pillars, that is defense cooperation, energy security, and long-term strategic alliance. If we see the defense cooperation, sorry, in 2014, alone India imported around $5.9 billion of defense equipments from US. That includes M77 howitzers, Chinook heavy lift helicopters, and 130 C-130J helicopters. In 2016 and 2018, there was two major deal was signed. Agreement was signed, that is LEMUA and Comcast, which was very, very important as a security point of view. Apart from that, over the years, there is a military exercise going on between the two countries. That is Yuddha Abhyas, Red Flag, Vajra, and also one trilateral exercise, that is Malabar. Both the countries are the part of coordination, which is designed to maintain peace in Indo-Pacific region by having freedom nation, and also both the are the part
Last
of
30 seconds.
part of G20, and also US is supporting India to become a part of G7 countries. There are many events. Sorry, there are many events happen between the two countries. That is Namaste Trump, Howdy Modi, in which both the leaders of the country express their feelings. If you see the economic cooperation, presently the trade between US and India
Time up.
worth is $142 million. It is the two countries set the target that we will increase the trade of $500 million till 2030. So lastly, I just want to say that Russia and US are both the countries are very much important, and we should be neutral by handling both the countries. We should not lean towards any of the country which will be harmful for as a defense cooperation point of view. Thank you so much.
Okay, India and US, we had not so good relations till 90s, and after 90s, when the Indian economy opened up, market was attractive for the whole world, then US started coming closer. Today we have got a lot of cooperation in various fields as far as US goes. Earlier we were a little closer to Russia, which was not a very good sign for US-India relation. Today India is balanced and maintaining equidistant with all the countries, cooperating in many fields depending upon interest or the importance of that field. So US and India are working together in various projects, what Suraj was highlighting, and it's a good sign because China-US trade war is on, but we need to be a little closer with US for our strategic interest. Okay, good. Paras, and then we'll have Kumar. Paras, ready?
Yes.
Okay, Suraj, keep time.
Okay. You can now start, Paras.
Good morning. My today's topic is youth in politics. As we all know, there are very less percentage of youth in politics, and so as to increase that, many initiatives were taken in many schools to develop the interest among the students to enter Indian politics. The field of politics in India is usually perceived as something that is not suited to the educated masses, and this perception is being changed by many school students who are seeing their career as a politician. In 2004, 50% of Indian population was aged under 30 years, 30 years or younger. However, only 35 out of 543 Lok Sabha members, which was 6%, were aged under 35. Nowadays, the population 65% are below 35, and all the major political parties have their youth wings like Indian Youth Congress, Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, and Democratic Youth Federation of India. And Young India Foundation has been raising awareness on the importance of youth rights, and they are also trying to lower the candidacy age from 25. And there are too many rising young politicians, but most of them are a son or grandchild of big politician, So we can say nepotism in politics also, which leads to less involvement of deserving young politician and young politicians young politicians are very important for country as they can create new ideas and they can solve problems with new techniques. But besides young politician, we also need experienced politician too. So there must be balance in between their numbers. And thank you.
Okay. Underutilization of time, Paras. You should utilize all 3 minutes. Okay. Youth in
I
politics.
couldn't find much content about it.
You will find with practice and more reading, it will come up. Okay. So don't worry. Youth in politics is required. We need balance. What Paras was highlighting, experience plus energy, youth energy. Unfortunately, in India, people are still holding on to their chairs till their death. That is a immaturity actually as a setup, as a democratic setup. We are not yet matured. People don't say goodbye easily to the chair or to the position or to the power. You see, US democracy, a president once leaves the chair, generally not seen, not heard. They go away from that politics, whatever setup they have, whatever maturity they have. They don't hold any public office or they are not in limelight. Except Donald Trump is little bit visible on media or whatever, but he is a business tycoon too. Maybe from that perspective, he is relevant. So in India, we have seen dynastic politics. We have to come out of that, and youth, more participation is required. Okay, good. Kumar, ready?
Yes, sir.
Paras, keep time.
You can start.
Okay. So, good morning, gentlemen. Today I will talk on the judiciary system in India. So, gentlemen, we all know that this topic is very important from the perspective of our country. Our country is the largest democracy in the world. So, basically, we are we are a role model for the whole world. We see that there exists a large number of ethnic groups, and India has got large diversity. So, in order to tackle many of the issues in our country, we need a stringent judiciary system. And one more importance, and there are many importance, but one major important is that judiciary system helps the government of India in tackling various issues related to the security. Like the panel advises the president as well as PM whenever there is any worse situation across our borders. Now, coming back to topic, the judiciary system, I would like to give few insights. The judiciary system is having the highest authority, which is the Supreme Court, and then it comes the High Court and uh, the Session Court. Now, or we can say the District Forum. Now, coming to the topic that the judiciary system has these types of jurisdictions. Now, there are various insights. According to the Supreme Court, it has original jurisdictions, the appellate, and the writ jurisdictions. The High Court also has the writ jurisdiction. Writ jurisdiction is basically a provision where uh, these courts uh, give the statement about the various fundamental rights, and it translates these types of fundamental rights. Now, coming to the district forum is totally based to soothe the various situations in which the common citizen can appeal to the court. For example, there are various types of lok adalats and these criminal courts and the civil court. So the citizens go to these courts and get their problems sorted out. Now, there are various examples in which our judiciary system has shown a greater example to the nation. Like the Keshav Nanda Bharti case, the Supreme Court has given out a great verdict and it
As
has
30 seconds.
largely regulated the fundamental rights and has shown a great example. The another is the Babri Masjid case. So these are the examples which really boost our morale. Now, coming to the some of the challenges which the judiciary system is facing is that there is a large number of cases which still exist and it need to be tackled. So that there is a provision of fast track courts. The fast track court is very important. Now, some of the issues which I would
Time
like
up.
to give my opinion is like there is a larger role of media. If the media is coming up with a great morale, then the later things which arises behind the cases is sorted out immediately. The role of media and also the citizens needs to adhere to the fundamental duties, because we cannot only fight for our rights, we should have the fundamental duties. Thank you. Jai Hind, gentlemen.
Okay, good, Kumar. Nicely covered. Though you are doing double role, managing recording too. So, judicial system in India requires reform, requires larger role to play. They are playing their role. What Kumar has highlighted, how important cases they have solved, and they are taking responsibility because they are the watchdogs, they are the supporters of democracy, and they are really important if democratic setup has to survive. Otherwise, politics will go haywire here and there. But controlling elements, one of the most important factor in democratic setup is judiciary. Yes, they have got some reforms in pipeline, and they must come as soon as possible. Otherwise, the issues will be little difficult. Though they are controversial, some people agree, some people don't agree. But as we progress further, as we evolve as a mature democracy, things will get sorted out for sure. Okay, today I think 10 minutes we have exceeded. Generally, we want to finish by 8:30. Okay, good. A lot of good participation, good content. Things are improving. Have a good day. Bye. Jai Hind.
Good day,
Jai
sir.
Hind.
Jai Hind, sir. Thank you.
Yes.